My name is Isabella. I'm 32 years old and work as the chief financial officer at a major company. I married Miguel 5 years ago, and though our marriage began like a fairy tale, everything changed the moment I received an unexpected inheritance from my grandfather. He was always my hero. While my parents spent endless hours running our small family restaurant, my grandfather was the one who taught me about money, investments, and the true value of education. He used to tell me, Bella, money is a tool, not a goal. Use it wisely to build something meaningful. Thanks to his guidance, I studied finance at university and eventually landed a position at a prestigious firm. My grandfather was so proud when I became the youngest financial director in the company's history. When he passed away 3 months ago, I was devastated. Along with the grief came the shocking news. He had left me a considerable inheritance, 2 apartment buildings downtown, a diverse investment portfolio, and a large amount of cash. Altogether, it was worth around $5 million. At first, Miguel and I decided to keep the inheritance private. Only he knew, and we agreed to take time before deciding what to do with it. But everything changed during a family dinner last month. Isabella, could you pass me the salt? Asked Carmen, my favorite sister-in-law, and honestly, the only one who treated me like real family. Of course, I said with a smile, handing it to her. Carmen had always been different from Miguel's other sisters. While they kept a polite distance, she made an effort to actually know me. That evening, the entire family had gathered at my in-laws' house, Miguel and I, his 3 sisters, Carmen, Diana, and Elena, their husbands, and of course, Miguel's parents, Roberto and Maria. The dinner was going smoothly until Elena, my mother-in-law's favorite, suddenly burst into tears. What's wrong, darling? Maria asked, rushing to her side. It's just, Elena sobbed dramatically. The bank rejected our mortgage application. Jorge and I have been saving for years, but with prices now. Maria pulled her into a hug, glancing at me with that familiar look of disapproval I'd grown used to. For some reason, she'd always seen me as an outsider in her perfect family. Don't worry, sweetheart, Maria said softly. We'll figure something out. Then Jorge, Elena's husband, spoke up and dropped a bomb. I heard Isabella recently inherited a fortune from her grandfather. The table went silent, the kind of silence that feels heavy, suffocating. Every pair of eyes turned toward me. I felt Miguel tense beside me. Is that true? Maria asked, her tone suddenly sharper, eyes gleaming with interest. Before I could answer, Miguel jumped in. Mom, that's a private matter. Private, Maria repeated, her voice rising. There's no such thing as private in this family. Well, Isabella, is it true? I stayed calm and answered evenly. Yes, my grandfather left me an inheritance. And how much was it? Elena pressed, dabbing at her fake tears. That's irrelevant, I said firmly. Maria shot up from her chair, her face flushed with outrage. Of course it's relevant. We're family. Elena needs a home, and you have extra money. Mama, Carmen began softly, but Maria cut her off. Silence, Carmen. Isabella. My mother-in-law's eyes locked onto mine, sharp and accusing. Elena is our daughter. She's been saving for years to buy a house. It's unfair that you, who've only been part of this family for 5 years, have so much money while she struggles. Miguel stayed quiet, refusing to meet my eyes. His silence hurt more than Maria's shouting. Maria, I said calmly, I understand your concern for Elena, but my inheritance is a personal matter. Personal. Maria slammed her hand on the table. Nothing is personal when it comes to family. Elena deserves that money more than you do. She's our blood. I rose slowly from my seat, keeping my composure. If you'll excuse me, I need some fresh air. As I walked toward the garden, I heard her hiss, Miguel, do something. She's your wife, convince her. Outside, I took a deep breath, remembering my grandfather's words. Bella, respect isn't begged for, it's earned, and money will never buy love. A few minutes later, Miguel joined me. Isabella. Don't say anything, I interrupted. Your silence already said enough. She's my mother, he murmured defensively. And I'm your wife, I replied coldly. But that's fine. We'll settle this tomorrow. What do you mean? He asked. I turned toward the house, raising my voice just enough for everyone to hear. Maria Elena, meet me in my office tomorrow at 9 a.m. We'll resolve this once and for all. Maria appeared in the garden doorway, a triumphant smirk on her lips. Of course we'll be there. I knew you'd come to your senses. I smiled faintly, already picturing the plan taking shape in my mind. Oh, believe me, Maria. Tomorrow everything will be crystal clear. The next morning, I arrived early at my office. As the company's financial director, I occupied a spacious corner office on the 20th floor with sweeping views of the city. Everything for the meeting had been meticulously prepared. Ms. Isabella, my assistant Anna, said through the intercom, "Your mother-in-law and sister-in-law have arrived. Your husband's with them too. Please, let them in," I replied. Maria entered first, dressed as if attending a gala. Elena followed, wearing an expensive suit she likely couldn't afford. Miguel came in last, visibly uneasy. "Well," Maria exclaimed, glancing around my office, "so this is your little job. Very nice, but Elena could have something even better." "Yes," I interrupted, pressing a button on my desk phone. "Anna, could you send in the rest of the guests?" "Guests?" Elena frowned. The door opened again, revealing Carmen and Diana with their husbands. Behind them came an older man in a dark suit, Maria's family lawyer, Alberto. Maria blanched at the sight. "What is Alberto doing here?" "I invited him," I said calmly. "Please, everyone, have a seat." When all were settled, I walked toward the window and spoke clearly. "Before we begin, I'd like to tell you all a story." "We don't have time for stories," Maria snapped. "We're here to discuss the inheritance." "Oh, but you'll want to hear this one," I said with a polite smile. "It's quite relevant." I continued, 15 years ago, a man named Roberto Garcia signed a rather interesting contract. I noticed my father-in-law stiffen at the mention of his name. This contract, I went on, was a loan agreement for 500,000 pesos. The lender was my grandfather. "That's a lie," Maria shouted, standing up abruptly. I opened a folder on my desk and slid a document forward. "Here's the original contract, with Roberto's signature. When my grandfather passed, I found it among his papers, along with a very revealing note." "Dad," Elena turned to her father, pale. "Is it true?" Roberto looked down. "It was a long time ago," he muttered. "Yes," I confirmed. "It was when you first started your construction company. My grandfather loaned you the money on one condition, that it remained secret." "Why didn't you tell us?" Diana asked. "Because," I answered for him, "Maria insisted no one could know they'd accepted help, especially from the family of a future daughter-in-law." Maria sank back into her chair, her face ashen. "But that's not all," I continued smoothly. "The loan came with specific terms. If it wasn't repaid within 10 years, my grandfather would be entitled to 40% of the company." "That's absurd," Maria shouted. "The company is ours." Alberto cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Actually, Maria, if that contract is authentic, it's legally binding." "It's very real," I confirmed. "And not a single peso was ever repaid." Carmen looked stunned. "So, you own 40% of the family business?" "Actually," I smiled faintly, "I own 60%. Gasps echoed around the room. "You see," I continued, 3 years ago, when the company faced financial trouble, Roberto sold additional shares. My grandfather bought them through a shell corporation, unknowingly helping his granddaughter's in-laws once again. I closed the folder and looked directly at Maria. "So, yes, Maria. Tomorrow everything became clear, just as I promised." The silence in the room was deafening. "So, Elena," I said, turning to my sister-in-law, "when you say you need a house, I'm curious, what happened to your trust fund?" Elena's face went pale. "What? What trust fund?" "The one Roberto set up for each of his daughters when the company began to grow," I replied calmly. "Carmen and Diana received theirs when they turned 30. But yours, Elena," I opened another folder. "According to these documents, it was withdrawn 2 years ago by Maria." "And Mom," Elena's voice cracked as she turned toward her mother, real tears welling in her eyes. "What did you do with my trust fund?" Maria stammered, "I just wanted to." "She spent it," I cut in coldly, "on her plastic surgery clinic in Miami, the same one that went bankrupt 6 months later." Carmen, and Diana stared at their mother in disbelief. How do you know all this? Miguel finally spoke up. Because I'm good at my job, Miguel, I said, meeting his eyes. Very good. When they threatened me last night, I stayed up all night digging and found plenty of interesting things. I turned back to Maria. So, tell me, do you still think I should hand over my inheritance to Elena? Or should we talk about how you embezzled your daughter's trust fund? Maria rose shakily to her feet. I need some air. Oh, but I'm not finished yet. I stopped her in her tracks. There's something else everyone needs to hear. Maria froze near the door as I pulled the final envelope from my desk. Do you all remember the Paradise Gardens project? I asked, looking straight at Roberto. The biggest real estate development your company has ever handled? Roberto sank back into his chair. Please, Isabella. Why, Dad? Carmen interrupted. What else have you been hiding from us? Paradise Gardens, I continued, was built on land that was acquired fraudulently. The original documents were forged, and the true owners never received their full payment. The lawyer, Alberto, adjusted his tie nervously. Those are very serious accusations, Isabella. They're not accusations, Alberto, they're facts. And you knew about them. I pulled out printed copies of emails from the envelope. In fact, you helped cover it up. Elena started crying again, but this time, no one moved to comfort her. The reason I'm bringing up Paradise Gardens, I went on, is because it represents 60% of the company's current income. If this information goes public, Maria shouted, you'll ruin us. You'll destroy your own family. My family? I laughed softly. You mean the same family that called me an intruder last night? The same family that demanded my inheritance, as if it were their right? I turned to Elena. Your mother wasted your $300,000 trust fund on a failed clinic because she had no idea how to run a business. And yet you have the nerve to demand my inheritance. I didn't know about the trust, Elena whispered. Of course not, I said dryly. You were too busy being the perfect daughter, letting your mother handle everything. Then I faced Miguel, who had been silent the entire time. And you, love? Do you have anything to say? He began, but I cut him off. No, let me guess. They're my family, right? It's always your family. Well, newsflash, I'm your family too. Or at least I'm supposed to be. Roberto finally spoke, his voice weary. What do you want, Isabella? I sat back in my chair, folding my hands. 3 things. First, Elena will receive full compensation for her stolen trust fund. Maria will sell her beach house to pay for it. Maria opened her mouth to protest, but Roberto silenced her with a single look. Second, I will be legally transferred the 60% of the company that rightfully belongs to me. I'll make sure Paradise Garden is managed properly from now on and that the original owners receive fair compensation. And third, Carmen asked softly. Third, I said, turning directly to Maria, you will never interfere in my life or my finances again. No more lawsuits, no more manipulation, no more attempts to control everything. If you break this condition, every one of these documents will go straight to the prosecutor's office. Silence filled the room as everyone absorbed my words. And if we refuse? Maria challenged, though her voice trembled. I smiled. Then all these documents will go to the prosecutor's office anyway. Your choice. Roberto was the first to move. We accept your terms. Roberto, Maria shouted. Enough. Roberto roared for the first time. You've caused enough damage. It's time you face the consequences of your actions. Maria collapsed into her chair, defeated. Good, I said, standing up. Alberto has all the necessary papers prepared. You can sign them now. As everyone moved to sign the documents, Miguel approached me. Isabella, I'm sorry. I should have stood up for you. I looked at him for a long moment. Yes, you should have. Can you forgive me? Maybe, I replied. But we'll need couples therapy and you'll have to prove to me that you're really my partner, not just your mother's son. After everyone signed, Carmen came over and hugged me. I'm sorry, I didn't see what was happening sooner. It's okay, I smiled. At least you always treated me like family. Diana also apologized, admitting she had been too intimidated by her mother to stand up for what was right. As everyone left my office, Maria paused at the door. You're really going to keep part of our company? No, Maria, I said. I'm going to save your company. The difference is, now I'll do it on my terms, not yours. That night, while Miguel and I ate dinner quietly in our apartment, I received a text message, one scheduled by my late grandfather to be delivered after his death. Dear Bella, if you're reading this, it means you've found the documents I left for you. I always knew you'd need them one day. Remember, money is a tool, not a goal. Use it wisely to build something meaningful. And more importantly, use it to protect yourself and stay strong. I love you. Grandpa. I smiled as a tear rolled down my cheek. My grandfather had always known this day would come, and he had prepared me for it. Miguel looked at me from across the table. Are we okay? We will be, I said softly, as long as you remember that respect and loyalty go both ways. And that's how my mother-in-law learned that not all daughters-in-law are easy to manipulate. Some of us come with our own strength, wisdom, and resources to defend ourselves. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more. See you in the next one.